I really dig the idea of tactical turn-based strategy games, but I tend not to stick with them. Whether it's the combat, the story, or the minutia between the missions, for some reason I tend to lose interest. Hard West has some of the same trappings, but I found myself going the distance. So, will Hard West get its hooks in you like it did me? Let's find out. I'm Adam Scott, and this is Hard West.
A simple plan. First, the key from the manager. Second, the safe. There was a catch, however. Demons.
Hard West is a turn-based tactical strategy game set in the Old West, developed by Creative Forge Games and released for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC in 2017. Think XCOM, but with more spurs. And if you know the genre, that tends to be the game that comes to mind. While Hard West isn't quite to that level, it's still a solid offering with enough unique aspects to set it apart. I played the Ultimate Edition, which adds a new campaign to play through. Hard West takes place in a dark gothic version of the American Old West, adhering to the standards of the Western genre, but with the addition of supernatural elements. Themes such as bank robberies, lynchings, and the gold rush are combined with metaphysical beings such as death, the devil, ghosts, and zombies. The game offers 8 unique scenarios, with 5 more in the Ultimate Edition. Each scenario is like a mini-campaign, with a self-contained story pitting a protagonist against seemingly insurmountable odds. Thankfully, you can choose your own difficulty setting for each scenario. These ranged from easy to normal to hard, with additional modifiers to further crank up or down the difficulty, like the Iron Man option, where you're whisked back to restart the level from scratch if a critical character is killed. I'm not ashamed to say I turned the difficulty down to easy.
You sure about that?
Okay, a little ashamed, but I found that even on easy, the game kicked my ass on a few occasions, especially when still learning the game's systems. Each scenario is divided into 2 sections, the Overworld and Combat. The Overworld sections are almost like a choose-your-own-adventure book. You'll travel around the map to various landmarks where brief story sections play out in text, usually followed by choices, like paying for more information or venturing deeper within a collapsed mine for the promise of gold. I recommend not using a guide, as tempting as that can be. It was fun seeing the stories play out, often with unexpected twists. You'll also barter to gain weapons and items that you can use for combat. During the first, and in my opinion the most touching scenario, a family traveling along the Oregon Trail are attacked by bandits who kill and decapitate the mother. Throughout this scenario, you're tasked with setting up a home, mining gold, and tracking down your mother's killers. Your father falls victim to a curse, and yes, you guessed it, it's your job to find a cure for him, which I failed to do.
I hope you're happy with yourself.
Most of the time, no. You're constantly presented with different choices that determine how the story unfolds, but I didn't notice any change in combat following any decisions. Now, the mechanics underpinning Hard West's combat will be familiar to anyone who's played XCOM, although it isn't nearly as deep or nuanced, which I actually appreciated. Before starting combat, you can check the loadout of your characters, with up to 2 guns, 2 finite consumables, and a passive buff. You can also add ability cards to your characters, which I'll cover more in a bit. Every character starts their turn with 2 action points, which can be spent on a move, an ability, or an attack, although most weapons instantly end their turn upon being fired. All manner of weapons, such as the tried and true 6-shooters and long rifles, are complemented by a bevy of offensive and defensive abilities, like swapping blood with an enemy to steal their health points, or one where you force an enemy to scream, rattling the nerve of their friends nearby. My favorite has to be Cannibal, where you eat the flesh of an enemy corpse to regain health.
You're sick, you know that? You're really sick.
You'll also have consumables like health kits, bombs, and buffs. These are limited and can only be selected before starting combat. Moving the cursor around the environment to see where to go is clear enough, but I found selecting the right floor on 2-story buildings to be a bit finicky. Generally, maps are kept pretty small though, and I appreciated that even the bigger ones are easy to navigate. Line of sight is really important, and you'll want to make good use of cover. There are 2 types. Low barriers provide half cover, and barriers taller than your character provide full cover. Depending on what the barrier is made of will provide more or less protection. Cloth tents or flimsy wood walls can be shot through as long as another team member can spot them. One big difference from other similar games is how randomness is handled. Rather than relying on random number generation to determine hits, characters are given a luck attribute. Each shot fired has a % chance of hitting its target. The higher the luck, the less likely they are to get hit or killed when hit. Miss, and that percentage is taken off of the enemy's luck stat. It pays to have a couple of characters tackle one enemy at a time as a result, as you can knock off a good chunk of luck, all but guaranteeing the second a successful hit. If they don't die from the attack, then their luck refills by a large amount, so working into good positions with strong weapons is a key tactic. The same is true when your character is under attack. Luck can also be traded for power moves if you have the right cards. But as with all gambling, if it doesn't pay off, then you'll leave yourself wide open. All missions require at least one main character to survive, so you'll only want to take smart risks. And at point blank range, every shot will hit regardless of luck. Now, if an enemy sees you sneaking up on them within point blank range, they'll automatically attack even when it's your turn. Some stages start off with a setup scenario. Here you can move around the map and set up attacks. Unaware enemies can be held up, preventing them from alarming others or attacking for several turns. There are missions where you'll need to rescue someone before attacking, and using this tactic is key to success. They'll stay held up even if you move away from them too, giving you time to move to the perfect spot. Instead of relying on experience points and skill trees, Hard West uses a custom system based on poker cards. After every encounter or by performing predefined actions on the map, you'll be rewarded with poker cards, which contain the different abilities. How you arrange the cards in poker hands yields additional bonuses. These cards offer a pretty mixed bag of abilities with varying levels of effectiveness, but a pretty good bit of fun to experiment with. Visually, Hard West won't knock your socks off. It's much more function than form. While there's a decent variety of maps and scenarios, most things have been stripped down to their essentials, which makes everything easy to understand at a glance versus looking fantastic. The audio is somewhat lackluster too, with a stock standard Old West soundtrack and weapons that lack any acoustic weight. The narrator, on the other hand, was great and added a lot of gravitas to everything he said with his gravelly and weary musings.
And decided to trade you and your father to white slavers. But he managed to break free, told you to hide, and set out to save her.
This isn't going to tax any system, so as expected, performance was solid throughout.
Well, duh.
The game clocks in at around a dozen hours for the core campaign and another 5 with the Scars of Freedom DLC content in the Ultimate Edition. I found completion to be fairly tough. You can get most of the trophies just by playing the game, with several that focus on finishing scenarios within a specific number of rounds, maxing out loyalty with companions, or killing a certain number of each enemy type, that sort of thing. The challenge comes from those tied to, well, challenge. You'll need to complete all of the scenarios on the hardest difficulty level. Initially, I was getting frustrated, getting killed again and again, so I took the difficulty down to get my bearings. I'm sure for hardcore tactical strategy gamers, you could start with the difficulty cranked up. But if that's not you, I recommend starting easy and replaying once you have your saddle under you. And hey, I won't say anything if you don't. Hard West Ultimate Edition will certainly appeal to a particular set of tastes. The scenarios were these bite-sized yet interesting, nuanced stories with a touch of the supernatural. The presentation is functional if a bit basic, and the combat was engaging and challenging, if not a bit simpler than the others in the genre. If you love the Wild West with a touch of gothic horror, are looking for your tactical strategy fix, or found some of the others in the genre too obtuse, there isn't anything else quite like Hard West. Alright, you've heard my take on Hard West, and I'd love to hear yours as well. Also, what's your favorite turn-based tactical strategy game? Let's talk about it in the comments down below. If you liked the video, hit like and subscribe, and if you want another game that you haven't played, check out my video right here. I want to thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.